Quote, "The Senate is a place that you send things when you want them to die." That's what Donald Trump snapped. And then he named John Thune and told everybody to call the Senate. And see, that's the part I want you to sit with, because the House already passed this. And Trump just exposed the choke point in public. And wait until you hear Kudlow torch the excuse machine. You see, we've been talking about this. New Jersey, they just found 6,600 non-citizens on voter rolls. And Caroline Leavitt today said it's a heck of a lot more. Okay, 6,600 in one state. And John Thune's Senate is still dragging its feet on proof of citizenship and voter ID before the August recess. Now, you and I both know what that means. Every legal vote gets diluted, while Democrats like Ro Khanna bark, "Make sure ICE isn't at the polls." Well, I would kind of say that unless the left knows exactly who benefits from loose rolls. See, this is not some process game. This is the ballot box, and Thune is bottling up the fix. You see, John Thune's Senate can bottle up a bill, but nobody should leave every dime trapped in a digital system that can lock you out overnight. Can't be frozen by a keystroke. You see, everybody cheers AI and cloud banking until a hack hits, code wipes a balance, or a keystroke freezes access. Noble Gold Investments gives you something real. Physical gold and silver, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack, and wealth that doesn't live on a server and can't be erased by code. You can even open a tax-advantaged retirement account or get assets shipped directly to your door. Go to nextnewsgold.com and just mention my name and claim a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. In America, control your own money before Washington bottlenecks that too. You see, Larry Kudlow barked, "Where is it?" and blasted senators for taking off an entire month. And now that hit me because he said out loud what the base has been screaming. John Thune's chamber doesn't lack urgency by accident. It buries pressure under procedure. Now we're going to walk through the receipts because the tweets get even nastier. President Trump in Georgia yesterday railing about the Save America Act. Let's go to that moment.
And finally, we have to pass the Save America Act to defend American elections. And I have to say, Mike Johnson and Congress have done a great job, but we're having a hard time in the Senate. The Senate, what they're doing is it's just not right. Congress is going to pass it again. They passed it 3 times. They're going to pass it again. It's like the Senate is a place that you send things when you want them to die. We can't do this. We're not going to take this any longer. We're not going to take it. You know, I'm trying to be nice, trying to be really nice. You saw we had a big victory last night in Arizona. I've had victories everywhere. But we're not going to be able to take it much longer. When they can't get past voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots because they're crooked as hell. So right now, Congress is working to get as much of our plan as possible into the budget bill to identify and really terminate. Look, what they should do? Very simple. A lot of you don't know about filibuster. They should terminate the filibuster and approve everything. Because the Democrats are going to do it. The Democrats are going to terminate the filibuster as soon as they have a chance. And then they're going to approve Puerto Rico and D.C. as a state. They got 4 more senators. They're going to end up with 12 more congressmen. They're going to get like 40 electoral votes. If they are allowed to do that, by that time I'll be sitting home. And I'm not a big crier. I don't think you want to see me cry, you know? There are some people, they do very well when they cry. But you don't want to see me cry. But I may be crying when I'll be sitting home and I'll say, I told them they got to really terminate the filibuster, get everything approved right away. Because you're going to have a stoppage. You're going to have a stoppage in September. The Democrats won't approve everything. They become deranged, like deranged Jack Smith. Remember that deranged sick puppy? They're deranged, and they won't approve. You're going to have a shutdown in September. And in 2 years later, you have the debt ceiling bill. They would love it. I call it the 1929. You know what 1929 means? That was not a good year. And there's no reason for it. They should terminate the filibuster. Everybody call John Thune at the Senate. He's the leader of the Republican Party, and tell him to get this stuff approved.
President Trump clearly angry that we are still talking about the Save America Act and it hasn't landed on his desk. And he put Thune on notice. Mike Lee says he's rechecked the rules and there may be a path to move the SAVE Act anyway. Let's check in with Senator Mike Lee.
The advantage of the budget reconciliation process is that it allows you to take certain legislation that's budgetary, meaning it brings about changes in revenues flowing into the federal government or mandatory outlays being spent by the federal government. It allows you to pass those things without having to go through cloture. And so you don't need 60 votes. I've opined in the past that the Save America Act is a policy bill and that it's non-budgetary and therefore couldn't itself be passed under budget reconciliation. After the House passed its budget today, opening the door for a possible third round of reconciliation in which the Save America Act could be attached, I started looking more closely at this. I think I may have been mistaken. I think I may have been too hasty in concluding that the Save America Act can't be made budgetary. I think there's a path. I'm saying there's a chance. And we got to fight for every single possibility that that chance could materialize.
So he says the path is there. Stay tuned. There's still a procedural opening which blows a hole in the usual Senate excuses, and while Republicans fight for proof of citizenship, Ro Khanna is saying ICE needs to stay away from the polls, right?
We need to have monitors at the polls who are volunteers. We need to make sure ICE isn't at the polls. We need to make sure that we have election observers and prepared to take legal action. The president is going to do everything he can to delegitimize this election.
ICE can be near the polls. That's all they need to do to keep the illegal voters out. But that tells you where the left's headed on election security. Next up, the grassroots response is blunt. Pass the Save America Act. If we can pass the Save America Act before the midterms, we will all but guarantee the complete implosion of the Democrat Party. Let's make it happen. And that's the base demanding action, not more stalling from the swamp. Now, the White House is adding hard numbers, saying New Jersey alone found 6,600 non-citizens on the voter rolls. The press secretary hammering the point again today in the briefing room.
What I will say on New Jersey and this governor, the fact that she just all of a sudden decided to put out a press release saying President Trump and Republicans have been right about non-citizens on our voting rolls is not a coincidence. I think this governor is saying this because she realizes this administration is serious about getting to the bottom of illegal aliens voting and being on our voter rolls in our country. The Secretary of Homeland Security, as you know, sent a letter to several states, including New Jersey, requesting that non-citizens that are on their voter rolls need to be reported to DHS and need to be removed from those voter rolls. So that's why all of a sudden she is speaking truth about the fact that this does take place in states across the country. It is completely unacceptable to have non-citizens on American voter rolls voting in U.S. elections. And she says it's 6,600. We suspect it's a heck of a lot more, not just in New Jersey, but in states across the country. The president is hell-bent on getting to the bottom of this, and it's also why we need to pass the Save America Act to ensure that only U.S. citizens are voting in U.S. elections. And I understand the House had a great accomplishment yesterday with passing the budget resolution, which has as much of the Save America Act as possible, and we encourage the Senate to move forward with passing that resolution into law so the president can sign it into law by the August recess. It's of the utmost importance to this president, but also to the American people who support this bill overwhelmingly.
So that's the press secretary in the briefing room today. After the New Jersey admission, the message from Team Trump gets sharper. The press secretary says the House already did its job. The Senate better move before the August recess.
Look, the president spoke about this directly yesterday. His patience is running out. He wants to see as much of the Save America passed as possible by the August recess. He knows that's what the American people want to see passed. He was just traveling on the road yesterday, spoke about this, and there was a very loud applause from the people in the audience, the everyday Americans, because voter identity, common sense. They want proof of citizenship in our elections, and the president feels very strongly about that. And I would just add, the American people elected overwhelmingly Republicans to lead not just this White House, but also the House and the Senate. The House did its job. The Senate needs to do its job, too.
So the deadline is set. Trump's patience wearing thin. Larry Kudlow takes the same frustration straight to the Senate Republicans and asks the question voters are asking, where is the SAVE Act?
So that you're going to get the Save America Act, the funding bill. You're going to need reconciliation for that. Where is it? You're saying wait for the House. The House has already passed a CR. They're still haggling over resolution. You're not even going to be here. You don't work 5 days a week. You're going to take off for a month. Where is it going to happen, Senator?
Larry, you're talking about the House again. The Senate's still here next week. Why don't you get Speaker Johnson on board to be able to have this conversation?
But you're going to be gone for a month. You know that. You're going to be gone for the Senate.
We are 3 weeks from now. Yes, we'll be gone because...
Where is it? So he's hammering Senate leadership for dragging its feet and heading to vacation next. Look at the media cover-up. NBC gets caught after spending 2024 trying to debunk non-citizen voting. 2 months before the 2024 election, NBC ran an entire segment debunking the idea the non-citizens vote. Now that we know it's happening, NBC and every network that ran the same story owes the country a retraction, and they should investigate the voter fraud they told us didn't exist.
Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
On the debate stage.
A lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote.
And at campaign stops across the country.
They're not citizens. They're not allowed to do it. It's illegal as hell.
Former President Trump frequently repeats false claims about migrants voting.
They can't speak a word of English for the most part, but they're signing them up.
That's not true. It's illegal for non-U.S. citizens to vote for president or in any federal election. And there have been few recorded incidents of non-citizens trying to vote illegally. There's also no evidence of anyone trying to get undocumented migrants to vote, according to experts. Those 17 different cities and towns
unless you check with James O'Keefe Media Group, where he caught him in California registering illegals to vote, right? And homeless people. Mike Lee said he may have been mistaken. Now he sees a reconciliation path right after Trump ordered the base to call John Thune because the Senate kills whatever it wants dead. And that's it right there. The excuses just cratered. The workaround just opened, and if Thune still stalls while non-citizens sit on voter rolls, he owns the rot, and every Republican voter in this country should hammer his office until that wall breaks. See, John Thune, bring the Save America Act up and stop hiding behind the Senate process. That's the demand, and Trump just put it right on the table after praising Mike Johnson and the House for doing their job. I want you to feel how raw this is. 6,600 non-citizens on New Jersey voter rolls. The White House saying that the real number runs even higher. Ro Khanna whining that ICE must stay away from the polls, and Larry Kudlow hammering Senate leadership with, where is it? You're not going to watch that pile up and then shrug at another excuse from the upper chamber. Flood Thune's office, share this report, drop a comment, and tell me whether the Senate should force reconciliation now that Mike Lee says there's a path. The base gave Republicans the House, the Senate, and the White House. No more nap time, no more burial ground for election security. Thune's bottleneck on the Save America Act is exactly why our Inside Channel matters tonight. Text White House to 844-840-4963. Next News Network is credentialed inside the White House, and the reports we pull straight from the building hit your phone nightly ahead of the crowd and pass the YouTube suppression machine.